Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Canfield, and I have had the privilege of leading our Surface Hub product marketing team for the past 3 years now. I want to start out by saying thank you for being here with us in the very last breakout session slot of Ignite. We know we're standing in between you and the party at Navy Pier, so we won't take that responsibility too lightly today. Joining me on stage over the course of this session will be our team of product leaders and technical experts that have built and continue to shape the Microsoft Teams and Surface Hub experiences that you'll see here today. We're excited to share with you collaboration with both Teams and Surface Hub 3. And we have a lot to cover today. We'll show you the latest innovations on Hub 3, specifically on the Microsoft Teams Rooms platform. Then we'll talk intelligent collaboration and the power of AI for the team. We'll also show you our latest deployment and management tools on Hub 3, and we'll close with some key takeaways. So with that, I want to go ahead and welcome Irena, the Principal Group Product Manager for Teams Rooms and Teams Device Management. Thanks, Irena.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Kate. I'm really excited to be here collaborating with the Surface Hub team. So last December, transitioning of Hub 3 to the Teams Rooms platform marked a beginning of the Surface Hub joining the Teams Rooms ecosystem. And it has helped customers create a consistent experience across Hub and conference rooms, both for IT administrators and end users as well. Hub 3 is a first-party Teams Rooms dashboard, or often we call it all-in-one, designed end-to-end by Microsoft. And it is, as I said, a Teams Room system. We've brought together iconic Surface Hub design with the inclusive and collaborative Teams Rooms experience. And on the hardware side, Surface Hub brings improved performance and new scenarios possible only on the Teams Rooms platform, such as rotation and portrait. Hub 3 now receives updates for Teams Rooms as soon as they are available for all Teams Rooms. Now, but being a first-party Teams Room system, it's more than just inheriting the capabilities from Teams Rooms. Surface Hub can be one of the driving forces behind Teams Rooms. We can innovate and pursue together new scenarios to unlock for our customers. And let's have a look. So Hub 3 is used for a variety of scenarios. It could be a busy whiteboarding session. It could be a large presentation. And what happens is when people are often running into the room, finding a room, and bringing the hub into the meeting or starting content sharing, we have a very easy way to do that through QR code join, which has been available for since earlier this year. And frankly, one of my favorite features. I've become lazy to book rooms, so I just go on QR code join. So I'm going to welcome David Alexander from the Surface Hub team. He's going to share you how he's using it.
Great. Thank you so much, Irena. And before I get going, I just want to say it is so good to be here back on stage. I was at the very last in-person Ignite back in 2019 before the pandemic. It is energizing to see you all. And this is a session all about collaboration. We've been collaborating all week, and that is the energy that I feel like I missed, I crave, I love it. So thank you for being here. We've packed this session full of demos because this is the last session basically of the event. You've made it to the end, and so we wanted to make it good for you, get some good energy going. And so I'm really excited to actually kick that off and start us off with a demo of QR code here. So What I'm going to do is I'm going to basically show you how I use QR code to both easily cast content right from my personal device to the hub screen, as well as, like Irena said, easily join it right into the meeting, even if the hub wasn't invited to the meeting. And you see there are no scheduled meetings on that Surface Hub, but I'm going to get it going anyway. So Kate's going to hit go, and I'm going to start QR code scanning. All right, there we go. So I'm going to scan that QR code. It's going to launch me. You'll see I can tap that Teams button there. I have 3 options now in the Teams mobile app. I can join the hub right into a scheduled meeting on my calendar, like this team meeting. I can start a new meeting with a Meet Now, or I can cast content right from my device. I'm going to go ahead and select that cast content option. I can choose to either project a PowerPoint or the whole screen of my device. Maybe I just want to do screen sharing from my phone. I'm going to select the PowerPoint option. I can choose from cloud sources like my OneDrive for Business or my Teams and Channels, or this recent PowerPoint file that I was recently working on that I want to get going. And just with that tap, it's going to kick the Surface Hub off right into sharing and casting that PowerPoint presentation right to the screen here. And then I have these presenter controls. I can tap from one slide to the next and advance those animations seamlessly right here from my phone. So I have a lot of powerful controls here. And then when I'm all done, I can just stop presenting. I can exit the meeting for all. And then I can get the hub right back to its home screen, ready to use for that next meeting. Now I'm going to do that second part. I'm going to scan the QR code and get it into a scheduled meeting. So there's that team meeting you see on my calendar. I'm going to tap Join. And you'll see when I join, there's all my team ready and waiting for me right on the call there. In fact, Kate's on the call, somewhat surprisingly, given we're presenting together. Now my phone is brought into this companion mode, and I can, in particular, tap room controls. This is going to connect me right to the hub system and give me easy access to some of these common meeting controls that I want to be able to use to control the meeting device while I'm going. I can turn the microphone on and off, or the camera on or off, or I can connect it. No, did it not actually work? Couldn't connect. The room system is not available right now. Of course, the rule of demos. Let's try this one more time. I'm going to end the call. And there we go. Let's kill the call. And now let's do this one more time. I do want you to see the effect of it. All right, I'm going to join that team meeting. I'm going to add this device. There we go. Second time's the charm. So now I'm in the call itself. I'm going to tap that same room controls button that you saw me do. And now my phone is connecting to the room system like you saw. That's all right, Kate. But you can see while I tap the microphone button, it's now muted the microphone. I'm going to tap the video button. It's now turned off the camera. And then I tap the layout switcher, and now I can go right to the front row layout, for example. And if there were content on the screen, it would be able to let me switch between those different views as well. So a great way to easily get up and running. And in the case of a meeting where maybe I'm not up at the hub during that particular moment in the meeting where I want to do some of these actions like muting or turning off the camera, I can just do it from the comfort of my own chair with these remote controls. So great way to make things even more flexible and fluid for customers, but we're not stopping there. So Irena, why don't you tell us a little bit more?
That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Woo, my favorite feature. Thank you, David. I really, really like this feature. Again, favorite. But, you know, we're not stopping there. In a Teams room, one of the distinctive features is actually having a center of a table console. So, as I mentioned, bringing Teams rooms and Surface Hub together, we are able to co-create these new experiences. And so together, we will bring a support for third-party center of table consoles on Teams Room's touchboards.
Woo!
Yeah. You're able to join your meeting and using the controls on the console sitting at the table, as you would with the Teams Rooms in general. So these new ecosystem consoles will be certified as a standalone accessory that can be purchased in addition or separately. Our first partner to deliver such console is MaxHub, Drumbeat, and I'll show you. I will show you here. This is the first one available. Very excited. So with this, and what this does, it actually brings even more consistency in the experiences. From a management perspective, having a consistent experience across all of your rooms, whether they're regular Teams room, standard Teams room, or a hub, you can have very similar or the same experiences. So the Universal Console support for Teams rooms is targeted for the second quarter of the next calendar year. And with that, I'll pass it back to Kate.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Irena.
Thank you.
It's really cool to see that we're making controls for Hub 3 completely seamless for employees, no matter how you want to use it. And that's just the tip of the spear in more efficient meetings. We know people are quickly becoming accustomed to AI. So how can we incorporate that into the meeting room experience? Already, AI is being woven into the workplace at an unexpected scale. Based on our 2024 Work Trend Index report, 75% of knowledge workers use AI at work today. And actually, 46% of them only started using it within the last 6 months. Users say that AI helps them save time, focus on their most important work, be more creative, and enjoy their work more. The heaviest Teams users in the month of March alone summarized 8 hours of meetings using Copilot. That's the equivalent of a full workday. In a meeting environment, it really starts with the fundamentals. Employees can save time with tools that make meetings quicker and engagement in them higher. Personally, I love expressing myself in meetings by using the emojis, and I often raise my hand to join a discussion without interrupting my teammates. By building that culture of inclusivity and retaining personal presence in meetings, employee experience improves, and we see everyone feeling both seen and heard. And with Teams rooms on Hub 3, we're bringing these AI experiences into a collaborative space. So let's take a look at some examples. When an individual uses a Copilot plus PC, the AI knows that it's you and actually provides that personalized experience. But let's imagine you're joining in a meeting room. One of the ways that AI can help is by identifying your voice in a discussion without you actually needing to be signed in from your PC. On Hub 3, this is made possible by speaker recognition. So DA is up here, he's gonna show us. We're actually also gonna bring up Frank, one of our technical experts on the product marketing team, to show us how this is done.
All right, let's go ahead and do this.
Let's do it.
Now, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and actually forward myself a meeting. We wanted to start the device, without any meetings, but I'm gonna go ahead and edit. I'm going to go ahead and add a participant, which is 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗏. Here we go, join, done. So in just a moment, this meeting will come up. So let me tell you what's gonna happen in this demo of speaker recognition. So we're gonna join the hub into the meeting. The PC is already on the meeting. Only the hub microphone is gonna be on. The PC mic and speakers are not going to be on. So only the hub's microphone is capturing audio. So for any of us that have actually registered our voices, our voice profiles with the Teams service in the backend, our voices and our speech will actually be attributed to us when it comes to the transcript and the notes and all the actions that Copilot is going to put as part of the recap. But if somebody hasn't registered their voice, their speech will still be captured and transcribed, but it won't be actually attributed to them by name because they have not opted in. We have a responsible AI set of principles that govern how we build AI experiences into our products, and this is one of those opt-in experiences. So let me go ahead and join. Here I'm going to join into the meeting. There's all that same crew from my team meeting before. I'll just go ahead and mute the camera, so the camera's off, but the microphone is still on here. So now I'm going to come back to the PC. This is the PC. You can see that its microphone is off. You see that the iconography here indicating that all the audio is off. I'm going to go ahead and go to record and transcribe. I'm going to start the transcription and confirm it. So now you'll see the transcription pane comes out. It's starting that transcription. You'll see AI-generated content may be incorrect. We have our warnings that come up, and you see 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗏 has started identifying people, and you see the transcript is now generating. after just a short moment, because I have registered my voice, you'll see it actually start to attribute to 𝗦𝗲𝗻𝗃_𝗦100. So let's see if that happens. Okay, speaker 1. Interesting. Okay, well, it should be saying 𝗦𝗲𝗻𝗃_𝗦101 right after that. That might be a result of some of the audio reverb. Let's try Kate, if you want to try talking. Oop, I'm sorry.
Nope.
Because you have also registered your voice.
Yes, absolutely. So I feel really good about Microsoft's responsible AI principles, so I have chosen to opt into this service. Teams can start to actually recognize my voice in meetings, not just as an additional speaker, but when it's working properly as Kate Canfield.
Yeah. Oh, and there it goes, actually. So you see Kate Canfield, 𝗦101. I probably was not talking clearly enough or facing the microphones. Why don't I actually try to get a little closer? You can understand that an acoustically challenging environment like this might be a little hard to pick up my voice, but hopefully in a moment it will get 𝗦𝗲𝗻𝗃_𝗦101. But in the meantime, why don't we have Frank start talking?
So I want to say that a little known fact is I'm a big 𝗏𝗄𝗃 fan, and there's this song that 𝗏𝗄𝗃 sings called Hot to Go, but I've turned that into Hub to Go. I'm hoping that you'll all stand up and do the dance with me. No, I'll hold that off for now. But as you can see, my language is actually being attributed to the Surface Hub, so it's Hub to Go, but in this case, I'm going to turn it back to DA to finish out.
Cool. So it took a moment for the AI engine to get going. I'm actually impressed it worked at all in an acoustically challenging environment like this. But you did see that as it started to go, you saw the attribution. You see 𝗦𝗲𝗻𝗃_𝗦101 down there. You saw the Kate Canfield. And so you can start to understand how this really would start to add value when you start to build on top of having these experiences and having experiences that basically depend on being able to identify who said what and what actionability you want out of a meeting. So this is the before and after. Basically, you see without speaker recognition, you see that blue bar, conference room 1245. You see how much of the timeline of the meeting is attributed just to the room? We know that's not actually what happened. Different people spoke at different times, but because they weren't attributed by voice, all we know is that the room talked for those big blocks of time. And in the meeting notes, it attributed to that as well. But then once we register our voices with speaker recognition, now that timeline view breaks out by the actual people who spoke when. You can actually track. In fact, for some people who like to track inclusivity in meetings, is one person dominating the speech in a meeting, for example? That's actually a good set of feedback you can end up giving a person from these types of analytics. And then in the notes and the actions, you see that the speaker recognition has actually attributed that to Mona. So super exciting, and this provides a great foundation for more exciting things to come. Kate?
Love that. And our vision for collaboration is really for seamless integration across our productivity tools. Facilitator is a new agent that's running in Microsoft 365, and it can do the majority of the heavy lifting of running an efficient meeting. As Satya described in his keynote, Facilitator takes notes in real time, tracks decisions, and adds follow-up tasks. So your team can skip the note-taking and focus on the discussion and next steps. And speaker recognition, which we just saw, equips Facilitator with voice identification in a meeting room. All right, DA, take us through this on Hub 3.
Cool. So this is still a little bit of a visionary thing, so we're going to do a little bit of a slide click through here. And some of the UI is still being polished as we go through private preview and into public preview, which we'll talk about for a moment. But let's do this walkthrough. So of course, when you have a scheduled meeting and lots of people involved in the desktop clients, you'll be able to have Facilitator as part of the experience, just like any other invited participant. And Facilitator will therefore be able to help your team in all the ways that we described. But what about when you don't have a scheduled meeting? What about if you're just collaborating with somebody in the hallway at the water cooler, you've struck up a conversation, you want to pop into a room and keep that brainstorming session going while the ideas are fresh? Well, this is where Surface Hub 3 and Microsoft Teams Rooms on Windows will be able to actually become powerful AI assistants, even for ad hoc collaboration sessions, enabling you to still leverage all of that AI power to capture and action your discussion. So when you walk up to your device, even if no meeting is scheduled like you see here, you'll be able to initiate Facilitator to start acting as that AI assistant note taker. Right now, this mock-up shows scanning a QR code as the way to get started, but again, we're still in early days. This may evolve. But for this mock-up, if I go scan that QR code, just like you saw me do in the demo before, I would launch the Teams client. Now I'll have an option for getting AI-generated notes. For a moment, you'll actually go ahead and join the meeting with the hub to ensure that you are claiming ownership of those notes, because of course the hub and any meeting device that's shared cannot own or retain access to content after the meeting session is done, because of course for that security and privacy promise that we want to maintain for a shared appliance device like this. But once that ownership is established, you can leave the meeting on your phone and just continue the discussion naturally. And then you get Facilitator acting as your note-taker, so you can focus on the brainstorming and the human value that you're adding and offload the busy work of note-taking and actioning to the AI assistant in the background. And Facilitator will then take those notes, create those tasks, leveraging the transcripts and the speaker recognition for the attribution like you saw me do to keep the meeting and the actions afterwards highly relevant. And so after that hour-long session, for example, you'd have that robust set of notes and actions available. And so you can see how Facilitator is building on top of speaker recognition and really helping to extend the value of AI for the group over time beyond just scheduled meetings and expand the value of your rooms overall to not just being a place you go when you have a scheduled meeting, but a place you go that is now AI-enabled that can act at any time on behalf of the group. So super exciting stuff. Of course, these UI visuals may slightly tweak. We have to put the legal stuff at the bottom there, but you get the idea. This is where we're going, and we're super excited that we can be expanding the value of AI for the group along with individuals as well. We're currently in the private preview, and we'll be targeting the public preview in next quarter, so first quarter of calendar year 2025, as we head to general availability after that. So stay tuned for more. Woo, yes, you can clap for it. All right, so now let's actually switch gears a little bit. We've been talking about a bunch of great AI capabilities, but let's talk a little bit more about deployment and the value of your rooms overall. We talked about how AI can expand the value of your rooms, but now let's talk a little bit about how the all-in-one system and Surface Hub as a collaboration touchboard device can really help actually expand the potential and expand the scenarios for what you can actually do in a meeting space by proliferating the ways that you can actually deploy it in many, many different combinations depending on what makes sense. Of course, with Surface Hub now as a Microsoft Teams Rooms on Windows device, it's great for being an interactive front-of-room option. In particular, because we now support that full ecosystem of Teams Rooms certified peripherals like mics, cameras, speakers, ways that you can extend the scenarios into different room types that you want to have. And even more so now that Surface Hub will support center-of-table consoles, like you saw Irena announce just moments ago. Super exciting stuff. But we also know it's important to customers to flexibly deploy Surface Hubs, maybe in conjunction with other Teams Rooms devices, maybe even another Surface Hub, to deploy something like this together. And this is possible with what we call coordinated meetings. So let me go ahead and show you. Cool. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit about how coordinated meetings is going to work. So these devices have actually been set into the coordinated meeting modality. I'm just going to tap here. There we go. And so what this means is they've been coordinated in their settings to work in concert with each other. They each still have their own brain and their own identity, but they're going to work in seamless harmony with each other to join and coordinate audio to avoid annoying chirping, actually just like that. You all know that familiar chirping when you join the meeting and someone left their mic on, right? And so actually, Kate, if you want to go ahead and join that team meeting there, you'll see that joining one device automatically pulls in the other device here. No, I didn't touch it, you saw. But you'll see that this device has its microphone and speakers on. It has been set and configured as the primary device. This device here, it has its camera and its mic and speakers off. And that's what avoided all that chirping when these two distinct devices join the meeting. They are coordinating that audio literally together. Now they're both joining here, but if Kate wants to have the whiteboard pop up, and we'll get some content going, you can start to see that in a typical meeting, you're still going to have some sort of content. And in fact, Kate's going to showcase the beautiful portrait option here. And actually, let's go ahead and just do focus on content to get that nice, beautiful portrait easel-style whiteboard there. So Kate has loaded the content large on this screen, I'm going to use the layout selector to go to people only on this screen. And so I've now configured these two devices together to sort of optimize the layout of where I want people's faces, where I want the interactive content to be. And you can imagine in a room that doesn't have $25,000 of Surface Hubs in it, that if I have one Surface Hub and maybe a non-interactive Microsoft Teams room system, maybe I want to have that non-interactive Teams room system have the faces nice and large, really maximize the human value of the collaboration in that meeting, and then use the Surface Hub either alongside or in the side of the room for where the interactive content will end up being, and really sort of optimize how we're using these devices flexibly in the room. So it provides a lot of really great option value. We have a bunch of these rooms on our own Microsoft campus where we have a Surface Hub and a more traditional console and projector Teams room system. Some of those lucky executives that get the budget to have two large, beautiful 85-inch Surface Hubs in their conference rooms actually will do this just like we're showing here with two 85-inch Surface Hubs. And really the flexibility and all the different permutations really range. So exciting stuff here. And then the last thing, of course, is just like they coordinated when we joined, they also coordinate when we leave. And so that means that I don't have to go hit the end session button on both of them at the same time. So that's just one piece of deployment, but super exciting, more from the end user perspective. Now I'm going to transition back to Kate to talk a little bit more about other management deployment capabilities.
Thanks, David. It is awesome to see the power of AI when it's put to use in a secure, responsible way for collaborative environments. All right, well, so far we've been focused on tools for end users who are interacting with Hub in the meeting room. But we have developments to talk about and actually show you on the deployment and management side as well. It goes without saying that Hub offers a simple, all-in-one solution for meeting and stand-up spaces. It's the full room package, including the speakers, camera, and an amazing, beautiful touchscreen, and can also be on wheels with some of our great partners like Salamander and Steelcase. At this point in the week, you've been able to check out the Hub show floor upstairs, complete with more than a few Surface Hubs. We love bringing those to events because once they've been wheeled into the space, they can be entirely deployed and managed remotely. As Irena mentioned earlier, bringing Hub 3 and Teams rooms together made some of those top requested management and deployment capabilities possible for our Hub customers. And that includes support for low-touch deployment with Windows Autopilot and auto login of Teams rooms. Autopilot makes it possible to set up and enroll Teams rooms on Windows devices in hours. This significantly reduces the setup time and automates both the Windows device unboxing and setup experience, including Intune enrollment, as well as the Teams room setup and Hub account login process. And this feature is available now. But don't just take my word for it. I'll bring Frank back up, and he is going to show you some of these tools in action.
All right, thanks a lot,
Frank.
Kate. It's great to be back on the stage. I will say that I find it funny that I'm the one presenting this when 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 is actually sitting in the audience, and she is actually the program manager for developing the tools that I'm about to develop or showcase. But I want to take a minute to talk about how Surface Hub is an enterprise tool. We look at this device towards how we can manage as well as deploy and secure the device, all with M365 management tools, and those really include Autopilot, Intune, and even Defender 365 to keep the device always up to date. At its core, this device is a Windows 11 device, and so the way we can deploy the device is the same way I deploy my smaller Surface devices or any of our Windows devices, is essentially through the M365 Admin Center. So I'm going to bring up, in this case, the M365 Admin Center and showcase that this is where I come in to essentially create my device accounts. I can set security policies and baseline security for the device as well. And one of the best ways to do that is to essentially go into Intune itself in order to deploy the device. Now, as you well know, you can come under devices and you can essentially create that Autopilot deployment profile that states the applications, policies, and settings that we're going to push down onto the device when it's first turned on. And I love that idea because that's been something that's true to all Surface devices, and now Surface Hub is part of that family as well in order to add that. Now, I'm not here to teach you how to deploy autopilot, but what I am wanting to do is I want to be able to go under all services and actually make sure we showcase the Surface Management Portal. If you have a Surface device, anything from a Go all the way up through essentially this beautiful Surface Hub, you will see the device show up in Intune, and it's all part of essentially this connected experience of M365 all up as to how do we deploy and manage our devices. In this case, I see I have 2 devices in that management portal, and that management portal can essentially tell me that one of the devices is running the legacy Windows 10 Team Edition, and it's available for an update for Windows 11. Can I take a quiz of the audience? When will Windows 10 be end of service? Anybody out there? October of 2025, very good. So we're doing a great job of pushing that information out. But for us, we want to also be able to say we have this beautiful device that's on our network as a Windows 11 device. But Surface Management Portal does more than just that. It can actually give me insights towards the warranty of the device, but I can also use it to open a support ticket without talking to a human. Isn't that a special opportunity? And then I can actually check out the service orders that are against the device, or even go into the new Surface IT tools. In this case, Jacob actually highlighted this in a session we did at 8:30 this morning, and I don't know if anybody in this crowd was there. That's a long day for you and I in order to be presenting, but it's exciting to be here. The last thing I'll point out is carbon emissions. This allows you to essentially understand what is your carbon footprint of all your Surface devices to include your Surface Hub, so you can apply for carbon credits and other PACEs. So when employees pick a new device out of their catalog, they can understand how many carbon elements are being used by these particular devices. Super cool and interesting. But what I really want to jump into is this Pro Management Portal. The Pro Management Portal essentially gives me all those same capabilities that I would have as if I walked up to the device itself and managed it locally, but I have that ability to reach through this pane of glass and reach out to any of the devices in my network. I can come under Rooms here and see all the rooms listed, and in particular, I have Wind 101, which is actually the 50-inch device that I have over here. So I can actually click on this, and I can see the status of it. I can see that there's actually an action that's needed, that while the device is simply sitting right there, the device could literally be on the other side of the globe. In fact, earlier today, I actually went into remote access, and I was sitting in the Marriott marquee over here, and I wanted to test this demo, and so I logged into remote access, and lo and behold, did I see David Alexander and Kate practicing their performance for today on this device. So let's go ahead and log into this device and see actually what happens. What you should see happen is that I'm logging into this device, and if I was to actually switch to the other camera, you'll notice that there is a red bar around this device. That red bar signifies that somebody has actually logged into that device in order to essentially inspect it. I can inspect it in a number of ways. I could essentially say, is the device working? Well, it looks like it's working, but I want to actually see what the user experience of that device is. So in this case, I'm going to come back to my piece, and I actually want to go under Meet Now. And when I Meet Now, it'll actually bring up the device, and I'm logging into it. But then what I can also do is I can actually turn on the camera. And when I turn on the camera, I should be able to see all my friends and relatives out there that are in the audience in order to see it. Well, as Demo Karma would have it, we're in that position. But let me go ahead and try it one more time, and it looks like, oh, there we go. So you can all kind of see yourselves, and let me go ahead and switch back to the camera view so you can actually see the camera as it's projecting out. So in this case, I'm actually able to control this device through this Pro Management Portal in order to have access to it. I just love these capabilities, and I'm actually going to go ahead and end the call and then end the session on the device, and then be able to go back to understand what is the status of the device. And the other pieces would be is if I went into settings, there's a couple things that I would point out. One is coordinated meeting. I can actually manage the coordinated meeting settings right through this pane of glass right here. But the other thing that I can do is actually handle digital signage. And this is where I'm going to turn it back to David, because digital signage is an important element. These devices essentially often sit idle from meeting to meeting. And let's give it a job instead of just sitting idle. So DA, why don't you take it from here?
That's right, Frank. Digital signage is something that Hub customers and Teams Rooms on Windows customers have been asking for, or Teams Rooms in general customers have been asking for a very long time. As Frank said, they want to repurpose this screen real estate to be more effective when there's not a meeting in use. Why should I just sit on this home screen showing an agenda of meetings that might not be relevant to me if I'm just walking by the room? Why can't I use that space to advertise whatever my company communications department might want to be showing off? So let's go ahead and show what that looks like. This actually launched just last month. It is hot off the presses, folks. So I'm going to actually keep it here on the Pro Management portal like you see. I'm going to come to 𝗦𝗽𝗲𝗀𝗃, which is the device right behind me. I've configured digital signage already in the back end. I'm going to toggle it on just to get the cloud engines going. This should take about 90 seconds. And so while that's going, first you'll see the Teams Rooms app will just refresh for a moment. That shows the policy is streamed down. And then you'll see stuff start to happen. But in the meantime, let me show you how this is configured. In Pro Management here, I have a signage source assigned. You can see I'm using one of our initial third-party digital signage providers integrated here. It's AppSpace. If I want to edit it, I can come in and I can show that via integration ID, these GUIDs are how we connect to these third-party services and target with the right set of coordinates, the right set of content to come down. You see the Teams app refreshing there. I'll come over to AppSpace. I don't actually get to control whether or not this stays logged in, so I have to type a password, and you get to see me select chimneys. Look at that. Cool. This is a CAPTCHA demo, unintentionally. But here's AppSpace, one of those two third-party providers. I'm not a digital communications management professional. The first time I got in here, I was blown away by all the robustness of all the options available. So if you manage communications for your company, this is probably going to be really, really exciting news to you. You can see AppSpace actually promoting that availability of digital signage. I've created just a simple channel here for company-wide signage. I've created two different signs as just kind of examples, one about open enrollment and one about the company holiday party. And I'm going to kick it over, and we'll watch as that signage comes down in just a moment. But what's really, really exciting is that if you are that company communications professional, as I said, you can basically tailor this to your heart's content. You can have all sorts of content. I believe there are ways to live stream different things. There's also support in this digital signage capability for integrating just a URL if it happens to support content that plays in an iframe. So there you go. I couldn't have timed it better myself. And now you see that digital signage coming up. You have open enrollment that I was showing you the preview of from the web portal. And then in a moment, I specified 15 seconds. You'll get the company holiday party. Really exciting stuff. So this is just one example of all the great continuing value that we have that we continue to roll out by virtue of being on the Teams Rooms on Windows platform. But as you can see, this is going to make those spaces all the more impactful, and just we can't wait to continue getting all those great new capabilities from the Teams Rooms team and our collaboration with them over time. So that's a great look. You've seen a lot of different capabilities today. I'm going to flip that just so it's not distracting during this session for the rest of the session here. I'm going to flip it back to slides. So we've talked about a ton of value. We've talked about the value of Surface Hub being on the Teams Rooms on Windows platform. And so now the question we often get is, well, how do I get all this goodness? Maybe I'm a customer that's been on the legacy Windows 10 Team Edition platform that has a little less than a year of shelf life left before that October end of service date you heard us talking about earlier. The easiest way, of course, to get this experience of Surface Hub running the Teams Rooms on Windows experience is to just buy a new Surface Hub 3. If you're in the market for these devices and the value prop is resonating, or you're expanding your fleet of interactive collaboration touchboards, then great. You'll just get the Teams Rooms experience the moment you boot that device. If you have existing Hub 2S devices in market, first of all, thank you for your business. We are glad that you have them and that you've been enjoying them. And there are a couple ways to transition those existing devices to the new experience, to the Teams Rooms on Windows platform. First, we sell the compute cartridge. The computer is literally a modular component you can pull out of the Hub 2S, and you can insert the Surface Hub 3 compute cartridge as a standalone accessory you can purchase, so you can hardware upgrade your existing Hub 2S devices by virtue of swapping in an entirely new compute cartridge model. And that literally turns your Surface Hub 2S into a Hub 3, complete with the Teams Rooms on Windows platform and all the hardware-based capabilities you saw us demonstrating today, including smart rotation and portrait. If you are either waiting for your budget for procuring those cartridge accessories, or you're wanting to test out the experience first, you can also software migrate without changing the hardware configuration to put the software platform onto that same Teams Rooms on Windows platform. You'll get mostly the same experience, all the same software capabilities, but any of the hardware-based capabilities that are purely tied to Surface Hub 3, like Smart Rotation and Portrait, and Smart AV, and the performance upgrades that you get with 3 generations newer Intel silicon. Those, of course, you would not get because you didn't change the hardware as well. But you still can test out the software capabilities. And so, as I said, it's a great way to test that out, or to sort of stage your transition for your existing devices while we look towards that October of next year transition timeline, while waiting for the budget to get the cartridges. Either way, we know that the software migration capability is super important and top of mind to customers. That's why we spent a lot of time developing a custom and easy button-oriented migration solution to help you go from Windows 10 Team Edition to the Microsoft Teams Rooms on Windows platform with that software migration process. We knew we needed to make it enterprise grade. And for all of you listening here that probably manage fleets of devices and use enterprise-grade remote management tools, we wanted to make sure you could do this remotely, that you could trigger migrations for your devices without having to go physically into each room and touch each device with things like USB sticks and whatnot. We also knew you wanted to just trigger migration for just the select devices you want at a given time. Maybe you want to batch them, just all the hubs in one building at a time. Or maybe you want to save all of your executive hubs for the very last batch, just to make sure you get your process right before you do it on the high impact ones or the high visibility ones. But at the same time, we knew you wanted to do it in bulk, not just doing it onesie-twosies. While we also thought about all the enterprise-grade requirements, we also want to make sure that small, medium businesses that might not use these tools could also have an easy solution to migrate their devices if they just have a couple in their organization, and maybe they do intend to go up and actually trigger or initiate migration from the device itself. So the initiation mechanism is very straightforward. It's a Microsoft Store app. As you know, the Windows 10 Team Edition platform supports UWP, Universal Windows Platform, or Microsoft Store apps. So we released an app that is the migration launcher application. And it is purely the presence of this app on a hub that tells the hub to migrate or not. All the machinery is already there via Windows Update if you have updated your device to current. All that machinery is latent on the system, but not actually acting until you tell that hub to migrate by installing this app. The app actually doesn't have any UI or do anything. It's merely the presence at boot time for a Surface Hub that checks for that app and kicks off a migration if it finds it. And so this is basically how it works. It's a tech conference. It wouldn't be a good tech conference if we didn't have a good flow diagram. So for a factory provisioned device, things are a little bit more straightforward. You have the device, the hardware comes down the line, then it gets imaged with the Teams Rooms on Windows platform. We inject the activation key in it, and then we ship it. And then when you unbox it as a customer, a Microsoft Teams Room system basically has both the Windows component to deploy and the Teams Rooms application component to deploy. So you're going to go through the Windows deployment, then the Teams Rooms app deployment process, and then you're ready to go. For migration, it looks a little bit more different because you have to migrate it to the new platform before you can do that. So if you have a Hub 2S, you update it to current to get all that migration machinery latent on the system, but not kicking off until you tell it. Then you choose that green box there, whether you want to install that UWP application to initiate migration. And then when you reboot it, either manually right after you install the app, or it will just reboot naturally as part of its nightly maintenance cycle. It will find the app. It will say, oh, it's time to migrate. And then that will trigger the complex process we've built and managed for you, so you don't have to worry about the complexity, to unlock it, download the image, inject the new activation key for the new operating system, and then boot into that new image. And at that point, it's as if you unboxed a brand new Surface Hub 3. You go through the same Windows deployment process, the same Teams Rooms app deployment process, and then you're ready to go. And the beauty of this is it also integrates with Autopilot, because this truly can be an end-to-end touchless migration experience. And so what you would do is before you initiate migration, you would capture the 4K hardware hash for that system combination. You can do that remotely using Teams Admin Center and gather the hardware hash via logs. And then you would use those logs to enroll in Windows Autopilot through the same portal that Frank was showing and talking about earlier. And then you would also configure the credential association using Pro Management Portal so that once it gets to the Teams Rooms piece, it knows what credentials to push down. And then, oops, there you go. Yeah, and so then it goes through Windows. When Windows boots the first time, it finds the registration with autopilot and self-deploys. Then when it gets to the Teams Rooms application, it finds that pairing and association from Pro Management. It streams down the credentials it's supposed to put on and logs into the device for you and gets you to the home screen, and you're ready to go. It is really a thing of beauty. Like the sort of geek I am, I actually set up a camera in my office, I pointed it at the hub, and then I went home and I did this whole process from my home office. And somewhere around like 11 p.m. that night, I happened to have like a toothbrush hanging out of my mouth, and I saw it going into Windows Autopilot for the first time, and then going all the way through, and my wife thought I was crazy, but it was super thrilling to watch it go all the way to the Teams Room's home screen, that home screen experience, all watching it remotely and happening by itself in an automated fashion. So, super exciting. Think through these different pieces of your transition, and with that, I'm going to hand back to Kate to wrap us up.
Awesome. And yes, I did get a lot of pictures as that whole thing was happening. David was super excited. Cool. We are at the end of our time, and we'll just leave you with a few calls to action. First, start to plan out if you have Hub2S devices. Plan that transition. It does take time to think through across all of your spaces. Second, start using some of these features. They're available now. We would love to see how you use them, hear how it goes, get your feedback. And then I know we're at the end of the week, but if there are some sessions that you missed earlier, they are available on recording, including the Secure Endpoints with Surface session from earlier this morning that Frank touched on. You can also stay in touch with us with Microsoft Surface on LinkedIn. That's where we share all our latest news and everything coming to Hub 3. So with that, thank you so much for spending this past 45 minutes with us, and we'll hope to see you at Navy Pier. Thank you all.